Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing Adventures, and boy this is going to be an exciting video because we're installing exterior lights on the 2025 Ram 1500 Rebel. Alright, so as you can see, we have a lot of parts we need to go over, so I'll break this into series of videos. But first, let me quickly go over all these parts and how I'm going to be breaking it down. So to start, if you're going to be adding external lights on your vehicle, you're going to need mounting brackets. And these brackets are from Vice Design. And if you never heard of them, that's okay because I never heard of them either until I got the Rebel, and only after searching for the parts for the Rebel is when I came across Vice Design. And they only make parts for Ram trucks, so if a company only specializes in one brand, it's more likely their parts are going to be well-fitting and made. So I reached out to them and told them about my plan with the truck, and they sent me these mounting brackets for me to test and share with you guys. And the first thing I wanted to add was lights on the bumper of the truck, just like how I had it on my Subaru Outback Wilderness. And that 7-inch Auxbeam 360 Pro lights were a beast, and it worked great. So this time around, I stepped up and got these massive 9-inch Auxbeam lights for the bumper of the truck, which should provide even brighter light output. But as you can see, I have two different sets, and that's because this Ray L series lights are newer lights from Auxbeam, and it has some features that the older 360 Pro is missing. So Auxbeam wanted me to test that out and compare the two, so I'll have a comparison video of them before deciding which I'm going to be running on my truck. And they'll be mounted on the truck with these mounting brackets from Vice Design, and it will slide between the bumper and the grille. Next, I need ditch lights to light up the side of the truck, so I'll be reusing NovSight halo lights that I had on my Honda Pilot Trail Sport, which by the way, they worked phenomenally. But I don't know if the 3-inch pots will look better or the 4.5-inch ones, so we'll decide on that later as well. And they'll be mounted on the hood with these brackets from Vice Design. And to control all these lights, I'm going to be using Auxbeam AC800 RGB 8-gang switch panel with the remote controller. And this is a must if you're going to be running multiple lights on your vehicle, because this will allow you to control all the lights without running multiple light switches into your cab. And not to mention drilling holes to mount the switches. And they have different types of switch panel, but I got the one with the remote so that I could control the lights easily while camping or through their Auxbeam app. And the switch panel will be mounted using this mounting bracket from Vice Design that's designed for Auxbeam switch panel, and the controller mounting bracket for the inside of the vehicle. And lastly, these cool looking LED grille lights from Vice Design, which I'm really excited about because it'll give cool looks to the Rebel and also kind of act as a DLLs too. So yeah, we have lots to cover, and this is why I'm going to break it down into series of videos. And the first thing we need is the power source for all these lights. So in this video, we're going to be installing Vice Design mounting brackets for the Auxbeam switch panel so that we'll be ready to mount all the lights and power them. And the following video after that will be mounting the NovSight ditch lights. And the video after that will be comparing these gigantic Auxbeam lights. And after that video, deciding which light to go with and mount them on the bumper with the Vice Design bumper mounting brackets. And finally, installing the Vice Design grille lights. So if you want to follow along, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and turn on the bell notification too so you won't miss when my next video is uploaded. So anyways, now that's out of the way, let's go ahead and start installing the switch panel. Alright, so we have Vice Design switch panel engine mount bracket and in-cab controller mount, and it comes with the wire loom, all the necessary hardware, and complete instructions, and a sticker. And Vice Design has different mounting brackets for your truck, so if you have a newer Hurricane engine like I do, or the Hemi with e-torque or eco diesel, so make sure to select the correct one for your truck. And in the box of Auxbeam AC800, first we have the manual, switch panel labels, and Auxbeam sticker. The switch panel assembly, which has maximum output of 720 watts at 12 volts and 1400 watts at 24 volts. And if we pop open the cover, this is where you connect all the light wires at different amps. And this is the positive terminal and the negative terminal. And you have some ACC controller plugs here and 4-pin connector here. And this should be the antenna wire for your remote. And inside the panel, you have spare fuses and the fuse removal tool. And after that, we have the remote controller and a 60 amp circuit breaker, a wired controller, a silicone controller cover, and all the mounting brackets, necessary hardware, and the wires are included in the box. So the first thing we need to mount is the switch panel to the engine mounting brackets like this. So you want to line up these holes adjacent to the switch panel like this. And if we pop open the cover, you'll notice that all the wires are going through this loop here. So what you want to do is you want to mount the switch panel onto the mounting bracket like this. And use the shorter M6 Allen head cap screws and a washer, and then insert them into the hole like this, and then grab the nut and tighten them down. And same thing on this side. Next, remove the cover of the circuit breaker, and then we're going to line it up with the holes here, like so. And then we're going to use longer M6 Allen head cap screws with the washer and tighten them down like that. Alright, so after tightening all the bolts and nuts, let's see, they provide you with the wire loom, so we need to grab Auxbeam's positive cable, and then we're going to use the shorter end, and we're going to connect it from the positive terminal here to the circuit breaker. So we're just going to slide the wire through that slot, connect it to the positive terminal here, and then this to the circuit breaker like that. And you want to use the provided loom to protect the wires. Okay, and then just cut the excess off. Okay, now we're ready to connect. And then tighten them down with the 10mm socket. And now we're done with this part, and we're going to be installing this mounting bracket into the engine bay. And for the Hurricane engine, the mounting brackets will go right here. So we need to remove this bolt and the bolt down here. So we need to remove that and slide the mounting bracket and retighten them. And these are 10mm bolt. There it is. And here's the second bolt. And the mounting bracket will slide right on top of this ECU. Just like that, and line up the holes and put the bolt back in. Next, we need to connect the negative terminal and the positive terminal from the circuit breaker to the fuse panel here. And we could use any of these positive terminals to connect it to the circuit breaker here, and the negative wire to probably here. Okay, so I have all the wires that I need to connect it to the switch panel. And this is the accessory wire. So basically what this will do is it'll trigger the switch panel to turn it on and off depending on the ignition status. And that's why they provide you with the fuse tab. So you could connect the fuse tab to the accessory wire and connect it to the accessory fuse slot. So that way the switch panel will only power on if the ignition is on. But what I like to do normally is connect the accessory wire also to the positive terminal, which is a constant power. So that way when I'm at campsites, you know, I don't have to run the engine in order to access my lights. But if you do that, your controller will always be lit up. So if you want to avoid that from happening, you do want to use this and connect it to the fuse tab and connect it to the accessory fuse slot. And from my experience, you know, the current that's being drawn to light up the controller in the cabin is such a low voltage. You know, I haven't had any issues the battery going dead for parking the car for extended period of time, like 2 to 3 weeks. You know, it'll start up just fine. So that's what I'm gonna do. And the antenna is actually magnetic, so I'm probably just gonna put it here like that, and then run the wire through here and into the switch panel like that. And then for the controller, that will go on here, 4-pin connector, and then this will have to go through the firewall. So I'm just gonna put it through this loop first. and then we'll deal with this cable a little later. So put it aside, and then the accessory wire will go onto this slot. And then loop that over, and then this is going to be connected to the positive terminal, or the constant power. And then I was able to squeeze the accessory wire with the same loom, and I'm just using electrical tape to cover it up. Okay, and here we go. So I have the two wires, and they're going to be connected to the same positive terminal. And they'll be connected to the circuit breaker like that. So I'll deal with this later. Now let's first run the controller wire through the firewall. And to do that, I think the easiest way will be through here. This is the HUD latch cable. So, and if we lift this cover, it's pretty relatively soft rubber. So we're just gonna make a tiny little slit and stick a, I don't know, coat hanger or wire through this, and then grab the coat hanger from the engine bay and connect it to the wire and then pull it through. That should be the easiest way. So I'll probably make an incision right around here. Okay, so I made a little incision, and then now that should be big enough to pull the controller wire through this. Alright, so the cut was large enough to actually slide the cable from inside the cab. So I'm just gonna squeeze it in. Yeah, and then the cable's right in there. So I'm just gonna grab that cable. There we go. And just pull it enough so that I could loop it through and connect it to the switch panel. Okay, so now we're going to connect the negative wire to the terminal on the switch panel. Yeah, I think I might just run the wire along with the power cable and route it through here and connect it to this. And let me connect the controller to see if we will get power. Okay, so I'm going to use the number 2 spot. That's connected, and that's connected, and we have power. So yeah. So without this accessory wire, we're not gonna get power. But as soon as we connect the accessory wire to the positive terminal, see, we get this light. And again, this light draws such a little power, it doesn't affect the battery. I mean, if you're gonna be parking the car for over months, you know, you would want to either take out the battery to save the battery, or connect one of those battery charger, so it'll prolong the battery life, you know. But if you're daily driving at least once a week, you know, this should be fine. Okay, so we're gonna finish this up after installing the control panel in the cabin. Okay, so this is the Vice Design mounting bracket for the controller, but first we need to mount the Auxbeam mounting bracket to the controller like this. Okay, so after that's mounted, we're gonna use nuts and bolt that's supplied from Vice Design. Put that into the bracket. And then line it up with the Vice Design mounting bracket and tighten it down. And then it'll look something like this. And then don't tighten it all the way, because you know we still have to put the bracket in the vehicle and then adjust it as needed. So don't tighten it all the way, but that's the basic idea. And then insert the bump stop into this hole. There you go. Okay, so on the driver's side, you have this little tiny panel. So just pop that out and then remove this 10mm bolt. And then we need to put the spacer in here. And then the mounting bracket will go on top of that. And then we bolt it in. Okay, so I screw the bolt and the bracket, and then the upper portion of the bracket will just sit on this rubber bump stop, like that. And this is how the switch panel controller will look like. And this is the furthest down position that I could do, and I could angle it like that. And just kind of tilt it forward a little bit so that, you know, I still have access to these two buttons back here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then now we just need to tighten all the rest of the bolts so it's pretty secure, and we're done with this portion. Okay, so everything is wired, and to recap, I have the positive terminal going down through the loop and connected to the circuit breaker, and then the actual positive wire is connected to the other end and connected to the number 3rd spot on the fuse panel, and then along with the accessory wire. And then the negative terminal is ran through here, right underneath here, into this, and connected to this negative terminal here. And then I have the controller wire going in through the firewall. And then now we have to do is close the circuit breaker, and that should give us power to the controller. And then the controller wire came out through that, and I was able to zip tie it so everything is out of the way. And here's the connection, what it looks like. And squeeze the wire through this gap here, and we have power. And then there's a sensor, so it dims the lights when it gets dark. I don't know if this camera is capturing it. It's probably auto adjusting the brightness, but yeah, it got really dim. And then here's the power button. Currently I don't have anything on. So with the power button, what you could do is you could turn on, you know, individual lights, and then with the one flick of switch, it'll turn off everything and turn back on everything you had on before. And then the modes, oh, you could actually turn off the lights, huh? Oh yeah, so you could actually turn off the lights even though it's connected to the constant positive. So that's good to know. And this controller has RGB functions, so you could actually connect it to the app and it could change out the color to match your interior. All right, so here's the remote, and if we press number 1, yeah, it lights up right here. So it's already pre-connected. So number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nice. On or off and back on. Sweet. All right, and here's what it looks like when the lids are all closed. Nice and neat. Love it. All right, so that wasn't too hard at all, actually. I mean, everything was straightforward and it looks very organized in there, so I love it. And now we're ready to wire all the lights we have prepared with Auxbeam 8-gang switch panel. And again, huge shout out to Vice Design and Auxbeam for providing these products for me to share with you guys. And if you're interested in any of these items, I'll leave the link in the video description along with available discount code for you guys. And the next video will be the installation of NovSight ditch lights with Vice Design mounting brackets. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you won't miss when my next video is uploaded. And if this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button, which helps out the channel. So thank you all for tuning in today. And until next time, keep chasing adventures, and I'll see you all in my next video.